Hi, and welcome to the Hancock Creative Podcast. I'm Shawn Hancock.
And I'm Missy Hancock.
And I'm Vinton Bain.
Today we're talking about being brave.
You can do it. You can be brave. Creativity takes courage.
Ooh, like the pep talks. But this isn't a pep talk. But go listen to the pep talks too.
This will go on.
But not
and
now.
on.
Not until you're done with this one. Finish this episode before you go listen to a pep talk. Be brave. Creativity. Courage. When I don't have jokes, I just keep talking.
I can see how some people might think the quote, the Henri Matisse quote, creativity takes courage, might seem
Is that a
ridiculous.
Quote?
Yeah.
That's like
a 3-word quote.
wow.
Yeah. From Henri Matisse. I like to say Henri, but I'm not sure that's right.
That's Henry.
Henry?
Yeah.
Henry
Maybe,
Matisse.
but Henri sounds way
I went to school
better.
with Henry Matisse. He lived just down the road.
Okay. But anyway, I can see how some people may feel like that is kind of a ridiculous statement. It's like, oh, yes, be brave, make art. And I'm just telling you, it's not really that ridiculous because
What's not ridiculous? The brave part?
it's not ridiculous to acknowledge the vulnerability that is part of being an artist.
Right.
The emotional and vulnerability, that just putting yourself out there and raw and open so that you can have your, heart hacked to little bitty bits by mean people who say, oh, I don't know. Whatever.
If you think that's ridiculous, you're ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
And you probably haven't tried to put yourself out there and be creative. Because if you had, you'd know that we're all cowards when it comes to creativity.
Yeah. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. About what happens when you put yourself out there. And I agree with that. There are people, and I would call them cowards, who don't risk being vulnerable when deep down inside they know that they're supposed to be creative. It is destiny for every one of us to be creative in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And the reason I know this is because every time you start to do something creative, artistic, or whatever in public, nearly everybody that comes by comments on how they wish they were more creative, or how they used to be creative, or they have to comment in some way or another.
Or they just are creative and they say, oh, and then they just genuinely want to talk to you about what you're working on or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, that does happen. That's a good thing. But like sometimes a person will say something like, I couldn't draw a stick figure to save my life, as if that scenario ever happens. Or I couldn't draw a straight line.
As often as you hear that, you'd think that there's a lot of people out there threatening people by gunpoint to draw a stick figure.
Draw a stick figure. I can't do it. I can't draw.
Yeah, you often hear those things when you're around creative people doing any kind of art show, or even just sitting down and drawing or writing. Someone will always make the comment like, I wish I could do that. I could never do that.
Yeah. And all that is an indication that really inside them, there's a nagging feeling that they were meant to do it. They were supposed to do it, and they denied that little creative person.
Yeah. And it's easy. I mean, when we say drawing, we're not just talking about that. We're talking about the broad scope of art, but it's just an easy illustration to talk about visual art and drawing.
Yeah,
and
right.
like that.
Yeah. I mean,
but we're talking about music, we're writing, or
it just happens. It happens, I think, a lot with visual artists, that they hear a lot of responses that way, because I think in most people's minds, at one point in time, they were a visual artist when they were in kindergarten or whatever. Exactly. They did draw, and I think that's what that's the basic that everyone should do, is draw. I just think that is, to me, I guess, the way that I see it, which I'm sure most people will disagree, but that's like eating, It's like, yeah, you're supposed to be eating and you're supposed to be drawing. But we kill that in early childhood education or whatever. We just like steer people away from that. Okay, so this brings us to what happens when a person is vulnerable, when they make themselves vulnerable, when they step out there in faith as an artist, they encounter what you call haters.
Yes, I have dubbed that term. I don't know that you've ever heard of it before. There's this thing that I made up, haters gonna hate. And I don't know.
You didn't make that.
I'm so lying. You made it sound like I was like, there's this thing that you call haters.
No, I'm just saying that you say it. I don't know what.
I know I do.
People have been sipping on some haterade.
Yeah, there you go. So we were talking earlier when we were brainstorming on this, we were talking about the different kind of haters and how to define haters. And I thought you came up with some really pretty astute differences.
I don't think that it's
and they're not necessarily
conclusive.
haters.
I think there's many kinds, but there's some.
But we're going to tell you about a few kinds of haters.
The wide variety of haters.
Yeah,
and this is
in relationship to what you would encounter as a creative person, as an artist.
Yes, when you're putting yourself out there. The average person believes that when they experience art, they're entitled to an opinion. And that's fair enough. Right. I mean,
that's really not. We put it out there. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. But there's these groups of people, and the first one was just negative people. That's one kind of hater. And I mean, they're just negative. They're just going to be negative.
The glass is half empty.
Yes.
People.
Or all empty. And so
that's true.
We're bone frickin' dry. So these people they're just going to find something negative to say about whatever it is, whether it's a song,
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you said in front of them. They're going to find the negative thing about it. It's their personal duty to find what's wrong with it.
And as a creative being, if you can just accept that, okay, there is a percentage of people who are going to just poop on my parade. And so
no, I think these people feel like it's and I do this, so I know.
Are you a pooper?
I have been a pooper. I don't think you need to ask that question. But I think it feels like a little bit of a life calling to them to
enlighten the poor happy people.
No,
it's like, don't
true.
they see the flaws?
To point out the negative things, and supposedly it's to make things better.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
it's really more
we never get that far along.
Their satisfaction of bitching is usually what it's really more what it's for.
I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. Now, I mean, I think sometimes it can be constructive, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is just
okay. So we've got
to be negative.
We got the negative people,
right? And so then there's also the educator,
not to be confused with actual educators.
Right. Now, this person is the kind of person who feels that it's their duty to inform you of how you need improvement in your work, even though they know absolutely nothing about it. Even though they don't know the first thing about doing it, they've never done it, they're just entitled to an opinion. But the way they present it is for your benefit.
They are slamming your art for your own good.
Right.
Yeah.
That's and they feel like they're doing you a favor by critiquing you so that you can improve, so that you can mature as an artist. Like they're the ones to be able to tell you that because they know so much about it, even though they've never touched it.
Yeah. Then there's the discourager. The discourager.
Sounds biblical. The discourager.
It does.
One of the 4 horsemen.
Oh. There's no sense. And these people are the ones that's like, there's no sense in doing that because you're not going to make a living at it. And also, you're just not very good. And they're going to have something discouraging to say.
Yeah.
And
I would say that those people are often not 100% of the time, but often they are people who never left. They are people who never left town. They stayed around. They stayed in their small community, or maybe not, just their small world, I should say, not community. But, it's just like they don't go outside of their known world to experience life. And so they don't know what opportunities are out there. And you encounter that a lot whenever it's people who say, yeah, but you'll never make a living at that or whatever. And it's just like, people have been making a living at this for, forever. We know, at least since the Renaissance.
Those people were probably discouraged too. Discouragement breeds discouragement.
Yes.
People probably had a dream when they were 10 years old of doing a thing, and their parents or their teachers or, people around them were like, you can't make a living at that. You have to get a real job. Be an adult. Come on, grow up. And they did. They grew up and they said, oh, I can't do that. Right. And so they see you doing it and they go, oh, whoa, hold on. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. What gives you the right to do that? You can't do that. I should know, because if you could do it, I would have done it.
Well, I think there's some sense of security that they feel themselves that, it's like, I was right into buying into this lie, and so I'm going to spread this lie as well because it's the right thing. I bought it. You should buy it too. And I think maybe they have good intentions, but it's a lie. It's not true. The truth is that if you never went outside of your world that you were raised in or whatever, then maybe you couldn't. But I still think you could.
It's a big, big world.
It is. I mean, there's lots of opportunities out there, especially today. There's more opportunities today for artists than there ever was in the history of mankind.
Yes.
And so that needs to stop.
That's encouraging. Did you hear that? There's more opportunities for you than ever in the history of mankind. And we say this with pure confidence.
Well, I mean, it's obviously true.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
I mean, I don't know how anyone could deny that. You know, I mean, there's always been opportunities, but there's more opportunities for creative people today than ever before.
Yes. We've had negative people, we've had the educators, we've had the discourager, and the gatekeeper, which we've talked about before.
Just to touch back on that, the gatekeeper is a person who is involved in that particular world. They're involved in the arts somehow.
Yes. They may be something in the movie, in the film business. They're the ones.
And it's usually an in-between. It's usually somebody that's in the middle. They're not at the top. They're not at the bottom. They're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And they are a person that has found themselves a position of authority or whatever. And so they put themselves in a position where they can say yes or no to you as an artist.
Yeah.
And
they've likely not pursued their own art, but they get to say yes or no to whether or not you get an opportunity with yours.
And whatever the situation, it's different. But different situations all the time. But whatever it is, that person is a gatekeeper. They're preventing you from getting the role, or they're preventing you from getting the opportunity, whatever it is. So I mean, I don't know what they could be specifically, but you see them all the time. They're always there. They have certain rules that they want you to, accomplish, or they want you to.
They expect you to play the game like they want it played,
right?
And it's and that's usually, And then the last one that we've identified, and we know there's more, but is the critic, and that's the knowledge. They're knowledgeable about art, but they didn't do it for themselves, so they feel the need to give their opinion for the betterment of mankind. And that we're not
critics. We're so glad that you can come in and judge us.
And by critic we don't necessarily mean actual critics, although that they usually fall into that category too.
I mean, there's critics that we like we like Siskel and Ebert. There's critics that we like. But to be honest, I don't know that they ever influenced my deciding on what movie I was going to go to. I can watch a trailer and decide that for myself.
Yeah.
I don't really need a person. And you see these people all the time on the internet where they're doing reviews of something.
Yes.
Something review or whatever. And so they made themselves a critic, thinking that people really value their opinion on this particular thing or whatever. And sometimes it can be helpful if you're reviewing something and you're saying, here's how it works and blah, blah, blah. But they let you decide if you like it or don't like it. But whenever somebody's just being critical of something and just voicing their opinions on that particular thing, I mean, I don't really find that useful.
Well, I find it frustrating, especially if it's somebody critiquing other people's artwork. I mean, like
Well,
you
certainly.
mentioned going into the comic book store and the guy behind the counter being like, this is crap and this and that and rah, rah, rah. And
Yeah,
and you're
not
just
to knock all guys behind the counter, but often you hear this conversation between two people happening, and the person is a lot of times very critical of certain things or whatever.
And that makes me mad because I want to say, where is your comic book?
Exactly, as if they were involved in the process of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see if you're involved in the process of it, how you might have an opinion. But honestly, if you're involved in the process of it, you wouldn't be as critical about it because you would
Exactly.
know what hell you have to go through to make it happen.
Yeah.
And the fact that anything is produced is a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think the difference between the type of critic you were talking about and actual critics, by profession,
yes.
is the actual critics have a deep appreciation for the art form.
Right.
And they know it very well, so they can critique it in such a way as talking about the ins and outs and this factor and that factor and how all this all plays together and how well something works off another thing and that type of thing.
Right.
Whereas the critic you're talking about is kind of a deep cut here, but like Andy from The Office, when he said he was going to be an art critic, he's like, I could be an art critic. That art is good. That art is bad. That's not being a helpful critic. You're just pointing out your opinion on things.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
yeah.
not deeply analyzing anything.
Yes.
No, and I would say that the critics that I appreciate, that I do enjoy, are critics that really are more fans than being critical.
Yeah.
And I appreciate fandom. I appreciate a person who is celebrating something. But I think that you can be a critic, a professional critic, and still be positive.
Yeah.
I don't think that you have to be a negative, critic or whatever.
Yeah, and you don't have to love everything that you come across, but you have to have a deep appreciation for the medium in which you are a critic of. So
Right.
you have to know everything about it and love that medium. So to where anything that comes across, you can find something good in it because you appreciate everything of that medium. But you can also see the negative sides, and
Yeah.
you can see all sides of it.
Right.
But we would like to put out there that to be a critic is a poor substitute for being a creator. And so you should definitely make stuff and create.
Everybody's a critic of movies. We've sat around and talked about bad movies or good movies or whatever.
Have you been on the internet lately?
Yeah, everybody has an opinion of movies because they're so much part of our lives. They're so tangible to us. We experience them all the time.
Yeah.
And so we find ourselves, being a critic of that as if we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
When the reality is that, are we really storytellers? Are we really movie makers? Do we really have a right to judge someone else? We can just say our opinion. But let's be honest. Our opinion is our opinion, and it's not the word of God or something, and I think that's where you can fall into that critical personality is when you really feel like you've enlightened the world, but with your words of wisdom.
Yeah. Well, I may have shared this before, but I love to read and I get frustrated with good reads. And I know that as a reader, I should love that site because it gives you the opportunity to rate everything and to write reviews and to read other people's reviews. And what really usually happens to me is, and I think maybe it's because I'm a natural defender of the God ordained right to make and create art, and how the hell dare anyone tear up someone else's art when it's just even if they have created it, I just don't feel like that's ever nice. So I get mad if I see reviews that are slamming books and stuff. It just angers me because almost never are the people who are slamming things actual writers themselves.
Constructive criticism is an art, and we should all practice it.
But I realized that one time,
constructive,
I realized early on when I first got on there that I ranked everything against To Kill a Mockingbird. And so nothing could have 5 stars because, or whatever, is it a 5-star? It's been so long since I've been on
frustrating
there.
that it's a 5-star because I always want to do 0.5s,
Right.
4.5, 3.5. Give me a 10 scale. Come on, I need 10 stars.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the whole 5. Yeah. So To Kill a Mockingbird is 5. So then all these books that I dearly loved would only make 4. And I had gone through and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? It's like, just because To Kill a Mockingbird was pure beauty and, doesn't mean that these books that I love shouldn't have 5 stars. So I think when I tried to get back on it a year or two later, I re-reviewed everything. I re-rated everything without the sliding scale or whatever it was.
So those were some haters that we just listed there. So those are the types of people that you're going to encounter if you put yourself out there, if you make yourself vulnerable. And
so why would we tell you to make art and that creativity takes courage?
Yeah, if you're going to encounter these people.
If you're going to encounter all these people. And then why would we tell you about all these people? But it's because if you expect them, if you see them coming, if you realize, oh, this is just a part of it.
And you have to realize that these are people who crush their creativity early on.
Yeah.
And because I really believe, and I might be naive about this, but I really believe that working artists who are doing their thing are not going to be as damaging to another artist. May not be true. It's just been my experience.
Though, yeah.
It's been my experience that whenever artists who love the medium encounter another artist and they're both working, both artists are very complimentary towards the other. They're really supportive of one another because they know what it's like.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a blocked artist who isn't working, who isn't doing their thing, then they can be kind of mean sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I think that when you encounter someone like this, you basically have to tell yourself, they're just a hurting person.
Yeah.
They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That doesn't reflect on me. And of course, it's easier said than done, but that's really what's going on.
Yeah.
Is that they're actually damaged inside, and so that doesn't have anything to do with you.
That's just good general life advice.
Yes.
If someone's being a jerk to you, chances are it's because there's something broken in them.
That's true.
It's probably not your fault. You're not actually a geek who deserves to be picked on. That bully doesn't have a mom who loves him, most likely, or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And how terrible is that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you'll know, I mean, I feel like you've reached a healthy place when you can value your own opinion at least as much as the opinion of the haters, the opinion of the opposition.
Right. Yeah. So here is the golden secret. Not really, but whenever...
I got a golden secret.
When Missy and I used to teach improv class, one of the rules that it was not really a rule, it's more of a guideline. I don't know what it is.
A guideline, because it was kids that we were teaching that were, junior high and a few high school kids.
So you would always have the person who would always come up, they'd come up on stage or whatever, and you first try to get people to get over stage fright, so to speak, just the awkwardness of getting up there and being in the center of attention or whatever. And kids are always they want to be in the center of attention until you put them on the stage. And then they're just kind of like awkward and weird and, silly or whatever, just until they get over the weirdness of being on stage. Then they can actually do some real work, right?
Yeah.
But there's this situation that they come against when they're acting. They're being reserved. They're really not going for it. They're really not pushing themselves. They're not giving 100%. Because they're reserving themselves somewhat, and you can tell
because they don't want to look stupid.
You can tell it's because they don't want to look stupid. They feel awkward. They're just not coming out of their shell, so to speak. And so we told them, if it feels stupid, it looks good. So
now we realize that that's not always true, but in their case, and with what was holding them back,
think that's true. That was true for me. I told them that's how I figured it out. It's just like, wait a minute, and for me, it was just smiling.
Yeah,
because I was a awkward smiler. It's like I've got no reason to smile right now, but it was called for, and so it's just like. It was so the smile I had was so weird,
strange,
and awkward, and it was just like, okay. So eventually, I convinced myself if it feels stupid, it looks good.
Yeah,
and I found that to be true, kind of in life a lot of times, but just in general, I think that if you push yourself to the point where you're feeling stupid, then you've pushed yourself far enough for it to be convincing to the audience.
Yeah. Well, and in acting, especially in that art form, you have to sometimes lose yourself in order to find the art. I mean, you can't be you up there pretending to be. You need to just play, you know. And
I was a really shy kid, but I found that whenever I pushed myself, there were a couple of moments in my teenage years or whatever that when I really pushed myself and felt silly doing it or feeling really awkward or whatever, I dance or do something, you know, that I just felt really stupid doing.
Yeah.
I became a magnet to people. People just like, hey, started coming up and talking to me. And, you know, it was just like I came out of my shell, you know, because I made myself vulnerable. I made myself feel stupid.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was life of the party for a short amount of time. I'm not going to say I was popular.
I'd say that's true. I feel like when I was in school, I would always do goofy things or find ways to put myself out there and just get out of my comfort zone, and people are attracted to that and will come like hang out with you and be like, oh, that kid's cool. Look at that thing he's doing. That's weird. I want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even if it is stupid, you're still going to find people that are attracted to that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that Jackass movie.
Oh my gosh.
That was a popular movie, right?
It was super popular.
Well, I think the equivalent for writers on this, and it is what I struggle with the most, that being brutally honest, like being raw and writing something that is just like this dark secret part of yourself that you wouldn't be the part of yourself that you would put forward. It's not your best face forward. But when I read like other people's insecurities, when I read, just the raw truth that we all feel and experience, I am in. I love that writer. Then they have me. And yet in my own writing, it's one of the hardest things for me to do because I'm like, oh God, I look really bad here. and it's like, but it's the best. I mean, it's my favorite authors are the ones who do that. And that to me is the equivalent in writing of if it feels stupid, it looks good.
Yeah. And I think that when an artist, regardless of what their medium is, when they push themselves to that point, they will find lovers and haters.
Yeah.
They'll find the haters, but they'll also find the lovers. And you will suddenly have fans. When you've pushed yourself beyond that point of awkwardness, when you've gone past that, there will be people that love you. And then there will be people that hate you. And when you have those two extremes, then you know that what you're doing is not mediocre.
Yeah.
You've done something, then you've gone past mediocrity.
Yeah. And if you don't push past it, you won't have either. You won't have haters and you won't have lovers either. People will be like, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's worth having haters to have lovers.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I mean, because if everybody looks at your stuff or whatever and they just say, yeah, I mean, what is that? That's not good.
Yeah.
That's nothing. Personally, I feel like that's kind of where my art is I feel like, because I've been a commercial artist for so long, I feel like that I haven't really pushed my personal art to the point past awkwardness. And so I don't feel like I have serious lovers or serious haters. I have people that like my stuff.
Yeah.
But, I don't have fans lining up. But I think that can be key in life, just in general, is that push past the awkwardness and you'll have lovers and a few haters, but ignore the haters.
But you already know just to take the haters with a grain of salt.
I just want to make a video game now where it's like an RPG fantasy game and your bravery is your sword and there's haters and you have to attack them to get through so you can get to your goal of being fulfilled in life. Save the princess of creative fulfillment.
Yeah, I like that.
You have to fight off the haters.
And then
bravery.
Do you get lovers on the way too?
That's like health potions.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then you have the fellow creatives who join your guild.
Yeah.
Right.
To help you.
I like where this is going.
So after you kill the haters, then you turn and you start making music. Your little guy starts playing his what would it be, mandolin or something?
The mandolin.
Haters gonna hate, sure. Maker's gonna make. It's a good thing.
Medieval version of the haters gonna hate song.
Yeah. what do you have to lose if you are brave and you make art and you believe that creativity does take courage and you say, you know what, I'm just going to put myself out there. If you're someone who's feeling pretty vulnerable, you may think, well, I could lose my dignity and self-respect.
Who needs it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Who needs that?
And you said livelihood. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the things. I mean, I think that if you put yourself out there, you might be thinking, I could lose my, self-worth, whatever, dignity or whatever, or I could lose my livelihood if I'm pursuing this full time or something. Or I could...
what if, by livelihood, you mean what if I'm wasting my time? I'm wasting my time being a musician. I should have just been,
whatever,
working really hard as a plumber or whatever. I should have put the time in this other
doing
place.
A job.
Yeah, I got you.
Where people actually pay you for this. So, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is that you might be thinking, well, I can't make any money at this. I would lose my livelihood if I spend more time on this, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, or this particular thing that I'm into costs a lot of money. I don't know. It could be financial. That's all I'm saying. And then also you could lose some friends or loved ones.
The support of loved ones, yeah.
Right. And I say to that if they don't support you in this, then they're not friends or loved ones that you want around in your life anyway.
Yeah, because they're sucking you down.
And I think that if you feel like that you are losing your personal dignity by doing that, then, what are you doing, first of all? You might be doing something terrible, but what it means is that you need to examine who you are as a person and what you're willing to risk and what kind of person you want to become. So let's say that I wanted to start painting vaginas, right? I just wanted to do this. All I want to do is paint.
Interesting.
All I want to do is paint beautiful vaginas.
Oh my God!
All
such
day.
A great example.
So, but it is okay.
Yeah,
so, how do people start perceiving me when I start painting vaginas? You know what I mean? And so it's like, am I willing to risk it?
Yeah.
If I'm willing to risk it, then how do I represent myself from here on out as a person who paints vaginas? Well, you know what? Maybe it would be beneficial if I started dressing sharply. I started dressing really nice so I don't look like a slouch who paints vaginas. But I look like an awesome, well put together person who paints vaginas, and it's like, okay, this dude knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? But you decide for yourself how you want people to perceive you.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know, and maybe I pretend I'm gay or something, big flamboyant, and whatever, and people say, "Oh yeah, that dude, he knows what he's doing." You know what I mean? I don't know. You decide. You decide who you are.
And we've talked about this on other episodes, but that's one of those own it things. If you decide to paint vaginas, you better damn well own it.
Exactly.
They're gonna rake you over the...
Well, worse than that, what if I started painting penises? I think that's even worse. People would stone you for that, wouldn't they? I don't know. Okay, that's enough of that. But, okay, so then the livelihood, if you're afraid that you're going to lose money, then seriously sit down and make a plan.
Yes.
You don't have to fly by the seat of your pants. Just because
and
a lot of people do, but you don't have to.
The art life is not all or none. Most of us are moonlighting.
Exactly.
Most of us do whatever we do to make money, and we also make our art and find a way to make that
I think
work.
a lot of people live in extremes, and you don't have to. You don't have to live in extremes. You don't have to think in extremes. You can just, I'll just do a little bit here, and I'll do a little bit there, and eventually I'll work my way out of this full-time job, and I'll do what I love to do and get paid for it, but I'll work my way there.
Yeah.
I won't quit overnight and do it.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But what you really have to lose if you don't do this, if you don't start finding your courage and making art, is
everything.
Everything. Happiness. Yeah. Exactly. Everything. Joy, happiness, self-fulfillment. Yeah. Satisfaction. I mean, you don't want to die with regrets. You don't want to get old and say, "Oh man, I never did that."
And you will miss out in the adventure of life.
Because creativity is so fun. Shawn and I realized recently that has been our adventure. Creativity has been.
Yeah. Well, that's been our quality of life.
Yeah.
A lot of people will pursue money to pay for their quality of life. No, I have a problem with that. But we didn't do that. We decided to be creative. And I liked a little bit of the other now. But, hey, we have a really good quality of life because we invested in love and creativity.
Yeah.
So pick up your sword and go fight the haters.
Yeah.
Find your self-fulfillment princess of creativity.
Yes. Cut their heads off.
Cut their heads off. Double
Not
tap.
the princesses.
Double tap the haters.
Double tap the haters. Yes.
Not really. Please don't go killing people. We didn't condone any of this.
No, only imaginary.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, video game haters that's all.
Haters is.
Thank you for putting up with us. We appreciate you listening. Please go check out HancockCreativeShop.com. Go to Etsy.com/shop/Hancock Creative Shop and buy all the good, pretty t-shirts that you will love to wear on your body.
Buy the things, all the things, you want the things, yeah.
Hey, that's a good. I like that. And GabrielKnight.bandcamp.com is where you can listen to the beautiful tunes of the fella who does the music at the beginning and the end, who also happens to be our son. And thank you to Vinton Bain at graphocast.com for doing all this recording and talking with us and always being wonderful.
Leave us a review on iTunes if you would.
But say nice things.
But say nice things. Don't say mean things. Don't be a hater, because we'll come at you with our swords.
Yeah.
See you next week. Be brave!
Be brave! Hi, I'm Shawn Hancock, and this is...
And I'm Shawn Hancock, too!
I don't think you guys know how to do my voice.
I'm Shawn Hancock. I do my voice.
Wow, that sounds exactly like me.
This has been a Graphomania production. If you would like to hear more podcasts, go to graphocast.com, graphocast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Graphocast and like the Graphomania page on Facebook for news and updates.